Hello, so we are going to be discussing the questions on the last part of the exam with the scatter plot. So question A is the scatter plot positive or negative, shows a positive or negative correlation, and how do we know that? So I drew our little scatter plot here based off the data points. So that's that. And since we can see that the data points create an upwards right trend, I guess, we can say that the correlation is positive. Like I said, it's increasing upwards to the right. So then question B asks if it would be acceptable to calculate a correlation coefficient for this data. And yes, since we, again, can see that the points of x and y are directly correlated with one another. But in addition, the scatter plot shows a straight line can be drawn into it. So I'm actually going to draw that line so I can show you guys what I'm talking about. Looks something along those lines, more or less. And the rule for a correlation coefficient is that you need a straight line to be able to calculate that. So like I said, since we can draw a straight line onto this scatter plot, it would be appropriate to calculate a correlation coefficient for this data set. And then question C says that the data set has a correlation coefficient of 0.723. So what this means is that it shows a relatively strong correlation, meaning that the points are relatively close together. And how we judge the strength of a correlation is based on how close that number is to -1 and 1. And since 0.723 is pretty close to 1, it's safe to say that the correlation is strong. In addition with that, we also look at how closely packed, I guess, the points are to one another. So if we look at this again, they all look relatively close. Oh, that's upside down. Sorry about that. They all look relatively close to one another. So again, it's safe to say that we can do that. And then the last question, D, do we have any evidence of causation? So with this answer, I said it's pretty hard to determine if there is causation because we don't know what x and y represent. But having said that, based simply on the data, it seems that as x increases, y also increases. So yes, just simply based on the data, there is evidence of causation. So if we look at our scatter plot again, we see that, for example, if we wanted to do a point at 8, 8, like the x increases, so does the y. And that's the trend of our data so far. So I hope this was informative and that answered all the questions correctly. So yeah, those are my answers.